Hey everybody, it's
Hello, everybody.
Aylin Forrestelf. I'm here with David Randall, and we are excited to do this wrap up for the first uh, stop of our 15 Nations Global Tour. I just wanted to share a little bit about how this came about. At the end of last year, we asked for suggestions of what people might like to do for events or something special to do since this is WikiTree's 15th anniversary year. And one of the suggestions was from C. McKinnon, and she suggested selecting 15 underrepresented countries and figuring out how to manage their last names at birth, how to get their heads of state to have profiles on WikiTree. And we all thought that was a really great idea. And the first person who popped into my head immediately to take the reins and run with this was David. And he has done fabulously, as I knew he would. And so he picked the first country, and it was India, and they've been going for 3 weeks. And so I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about how this whole Global Nations tour works and where it's at and what they're doing and all that good stuff.
Okay, thank you. First, I apologize for the glow in my face. I don't normally glow quite this much, but so I took on this project really really blind as to what I was getting into. I was told there was a special project. Do I want to take charge? And wasn't given much information beyond that. But when I was told what it was all about, it actually really kind of sparked my interest. And what we've done is, we haven't selected all 15 countries, but we're going to pick 15 countries throughout the year. Some of them are still up in the air, but we decided to start with India. For those of you that are not aware of the project, we started with India and selected 15 notables from India and set out to build their profiles, build their biographies, and ideally to get them connected to the global tree. Now, unfortunately, we weren't able to connect anybody, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a bit, but we did accomplish some pretty amazing things, and I'm going to share that with you today. First, what I want to preface, though, is to say when I put these 15 profiles up, I knew nothing about India genealogy. I knew nothing about what resources may or may not be out there. And I pretty much knew nothing about most of these personalities. So it was really random and up in the air as to what we were going to accomplish. My biggest fear was we would accomplish nothing. We'd find out there was zero information on anybody, and for 3 weeks, we'd sit there twiddling our thumbs. But that turned out to be anything but the case. The 15 people that I put up, I deliberately added no family members, no parents, no siblings, no children, no spouses. And as far as their bios were concerned, I put up typically 1 or 2 sentences that I got off Wikipedia summarized, just letting people know who they were. And from there, we as a team, and I should say the team as opposed to myself, because I was busy doing other stuff for the most part and not building bios, but the team took the reins and ran with them, and they were able to build up all 15 profiles. And to those original 15 profiles that, again, had zero family members linked to them, we have added 226 family members.
Wow.
226 additional profiles that we did not have.
That's fantastic.
Now, that's impressive, but it's even more impressive, I think, when you hear that prior to 3 weeks ago, India had 400 profiles on WikiTree. So, people born in India, there were only 400 profiles. So we increased by over 50%.
That's amazing.
We're now up to 600 and something. So
that's terrific.
The idea now is to continue this, even though we're going to be moving on to another country and our focus will be somewhere else. I went on today and was able to add on almost a dozen more family profiles to what we've already accomplished over 3 weeks. So there's still plenty of work to be done on India. So if you were in the middle of a project, if you've actually didn't have a chance to get over to India and want to go over and work on some profiles, there's still a lot that needs to be done and a lot of opportunities. Some of our profiles have many, many more family members connected than others. Interestingly, the current prime minister of India has only 3 connections so far.
Oh, wow.
Family is next to impossible. I won't say it's impossible, but it's been next to impossible for me to find anything on. He married and left his wife almost immediately and never remarried, didn't have any children. So there really isn't a lot of information on him that I've been able to find.
Wow.
So that's part of the problem. The other problem is that he is a living personality, so his profile's locked. I don't know how much that discouraged people, but I've mentioned it a couple times in G2G. If you want to work on a locked profile of a living person, let me know and I can add you to the trusted list, and you can get in there and do some improvements. The only living people I'm picking so far are the current heads of state and heads of government. So in this case, it was the president and the prime minister. So there were 2 living personalities.
Yeah.
But everybody else, I make a point of choosing only deceased notables in order that people can access their profiles.
Definitely.
So again, we've done some pretty good work. One of the things that I was I had the most fun with was that a large number of the notables that we selected had a huge number of other notables in their family trees. There was a couple that had literally dozens of people in their family tree.
Wow.
Who had their own WikiTree pages.
Wikipedia pages?
I'm sorry, Wikipedia pages. So that actually made it easier because then on those pages you hear about their spouses and children, etc.
Yeah.
So it added something to it. And I picked out a couple that just impressed me the most. I'm on the wrong page of my notes here, but I'm going to say all of these names incorrectly because I don't speak any of the languages. So forgive me in advance as I say these names. But Ravi Shankar he is a well-known musician, a very popular musician in India. He turns out to be the father of Norah Jones.
Yeah.
And I did not know that. So that was interesting. And they have dozens of musicians in their family who are all well known, not only in India, but around the world.
Worldwide.
Many of them moved to the United States and are here. So I'm hoping, we've been working on getting Norah Jones's profile open. I think that's about to happen if it hasn't already. And we may be able to make a connection through her family because she had American roots on her mother's side. So we'll see what we can once we get that.
That'd be great. He used to, this is just a totally random side note, but my dad is very into Ravi Shankar.
Okay.
And so I grew up listening to his sitar music, and then I'm really into Norah Jones. And so there was a day where we figured out, like, hey, these two are
they're related.
That's father and daughter. So
yeah, no, I had no idea. In fact, when I was first told, I thought, oh, that's funny that his daughter's named Norah Jones because there's a famous singer named Norah Jones.
And it turns out to be her.
It occurred to me that it was her. There were a few others. There were a number of our earlier ones were freedom fighters. There were a lot of people that worked with Gandhi and some of the founding fathers of India. So it was a good history lesson to learn. I don't know a lot about Indian history. We didn't really study that in our schools. Learning about the partition between India and Pakistan. There's one story of a woman who, she's an actress, and she married an architect, but together they created a production studio.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Pakistan broke away from India, or was split from India, they had to make a choice as to where they wanted to live. And the husband went to Pakistan, and the wife stayed in India with her children.
Oh, wow.
But then she went on to become a very famous, she was already famous as an actress, but became a big producer, Bollywood, I guess they call it, but a big producer in India, and had a very successful career despite, not having a husband around, which that surprised me also, was how many really strong women there were in India in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and also a number of the men that were women's rights activists, that well ahead of what I think was probably going on in the United States at the time.
Sounds like it.
That was interesting too. But again, just a lot of really, you get beyond the notables and into their families. There were just dozens of really interesting stories. It was hard to keep moving on because I wanted to stay
rabbit holes,
read more.
Well, and I think that's one of the really cool things about this, Global Nations Tour, and I hope a lot more people get involved, is it's a chance to like kind of touch base in a culture and a people that you probably aren't super familiar with, and learn a little bit about their histories and their practices and their culture and their people, and kind of branch out beyond, your own tree a bit.
Yeah, and that's, I think that's one of the really cool things about this project, is there's a number of benefits out of it. There's a benefit just learning a different history, something to take a break from your own family tree and learn some skills maybe that your own family tree doesn't allot you. It's hopefully will encourage people with Indian ancestry to get involved and to make some more connections. We're trying to make a global tree, and we can't do that if half the globe isn't participating.
It's true.
So, hopefully that'll encourage people when they see that we have, a number of profiles from their areas. So there's a lot of benefits. It also, because we're focusing on the notables, I don't know how many people have tried Googling something and getting WikiTree as a response, but I've had that several times. We get pretty high up in the rankings. So somebody looking for information on some of these more obscure personalities may very well be directed to WikiTree and become hooked like many of us have.
That's the goal.
So now, do we have, I don't see on the screen the chat room. Do we have, am I just expanded too big?
You might have to click on the comments.
Okay, there we go.
Right.
Just know if we had any. Oh, I see. I had the wrong button pushed. Okay. So I'm just curious if anybody listening was actually participated, or people tuning in for the first time, or if anybody had any questions on India before we move on to our next stop.
I was going to say I know you're going to share a screen, but I think there's also you guys put together a resources page, right?
Yes.
Do you want to show that? Because that's another kind of cool benefit of this, is there's this whole page now.
Okay, there's the screen. So just above our list of notables, we did add a resources page. And first off, we have over on the right, we have a map of India with the various states. So if you are curious where in India one of your profiles is from, you can expand on that and hopefully be able to read it. It's a little bit small, but and then we'll go back here. Oops. Okay, I think I have to try that again.
Take 2.
Screen share. Okay, for some reason I'm having trouble. Okay, here we go. Having trouble getting backspace, but okay, here we are. So this is our resources page, and you can see we start out with just Wikipedia sources to get you some general information. We then listed our family search resources. Family search has a number of databases that are all free. If you actually have an ancestry account, we included some ancestry databases as well. And then we just listed alphabetically any other sources that people were able to come across. There's the BBC, How to Trace Your Roots on the Indian Subcontinent. There's Cindy's list here. Find My Past, British India Office, Births and Baptisms, Google Books, Dictionary of Indian Biography. So it's just a bunch of sites that people have been able to find that have either genealogical information or general history about India, or links to places where they may not have online resources, but archives and libraries that you can contact if you're so inclined.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and again, I hope that this will continue. So if anybody can go on and edit that. So you can just add, if you have additional resources, you can add them in, and hopefully that will continue to grow. So that it's something that I think is lacking across the internet. If you Google India genealogical resources, you're not going to find a list as long as what we have. And even on Cindy's list, they don't have an India section. They have an Asia section, but not an India section. So
yeah, so that should be great for a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know that there's an equivalent list anywhere that I've been able to find.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty cool.
Are there any? I know you had that one page that had a list of profiles. Is there one of those in particular that's like reached some kind of completeness that you want to share?
Well, I can tell you, if we go to now this one I'm going to have a real hard time saying, Satyajit Ray. He was an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And he is the most connected at this point. He has 59 relatives connected to him.
Nice.
And again, still not connected. But the problem with connecting when they're when the family was entirely in India is there aren't a lot of profiles from India to connect to. So
right.
It's kind of the problem coming from the other end as opposed to from our end. But he has, his wife was a not so famous actress, but an actress nonetheless. And I believe it was her. No, I think I've got the wrong one here. I think I did the wrong person. It's the one below him. So this individual was an actor named Dilip Kumar.
Mm-hmm.
And I was confusing him with the one above. But his wife was and still is alive. She is a famous dancer in India.
Cool.
And she had, let's see. I really like this profile. Her mother was one of India's first superstar actresses. Nice. And I really like this portrait.
It's a beautiful picture.
Yeah, it is. And she was considered the first female star of India film.
Cool.
And she's got a really nice little biography here.
Yeah.
A couple sources. She's got her obituary was found. So I think
nice.
Once we move past Wikipedia and which is spelled wrong here, but we'll fix that. She's got it on the Internet Movie Database, and then also her obituary, which was, I think, our biggest resource in my experience, was the most helpful resource. But I found that Indian obituaries are not nearly as complete as what we're used to in the West.
Yeah.
They didn't give spouses, maiden names and all of that. They talk more about the professional life and the career as opposed to the family life. But sometimes these individuals were notable enough that they got into the Western press, and they might have more biography at that point. So
very cool.
But yeah, this is one of those unexpected notables that we didn't know were going to be on our radar, but there she is.
Yeah, that's great.
They had a number of actors and actresses. It does appear that in India, families tend to follow similar careers. So you'll have a bunch of musicians or a bunch of actors or a bunch of politicians. But they seem to do a lot of following in their family's footsteps, really for generations.
Very cool.
In fact, yeah, so again, you start out with one person and that's interesting enough, but you start moving on and you just get tons of fascinating stories. It's hard to know, like I said, when to quit and move on to the next person.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic.
Okay, so for our next stop, our next nation, we're going to travel all the way around the world. And I'm going to type it in here, see if we can pull it up. Sorry for the line. Nope, it's not going here. Try that one more time. Okay, I think I have to log out and again because it's not letting me change the URL.
It can be a pain sometimes.
Yeah, it's.
So Darren was saying he worked on categories for India. He wasn't quite comfortable making the profiles, but he did add categories, which is great. Every little bit helps.
Okay, I figured out the glitch, so let's pull it up here. Yeah, one of the things that I tell people, if you're not comfortable doing research, and particularly in a country like India that you're not familiar with, there's plenty of other stuff that needs to be done. We can do, just pulling the biographies together and making them enjoyable, readable. You can even just doing checking for typos, just going through and reading them. And if you notice any errors, go in and clean them up a little bit. That's helpful. Okay, here we go. Here we are. Are we up?
Nope, you got to share the screen.
Okay, now I got to share it. Okay, our next stop is going to be Argentina.
Argentina. Other side of the globe.
About as far from India as you can get. So, Argentina is an interesting country. Obviously, they speak Spanish down there, but they also, there's a lot of, they don't have a national language. Most of their records are done in Spanish, but there's a lot of English speakers, and there's also a lot of people of a variety of backgrounds there that speak all kinds of languages. One of the things that I learned already about Argentina is that after the United States, they have the largest number of immigrants in modern history.
Really?
So they have people from all over the world.
Wow.
And the statistic that I read, and I can't remember the exact number, but something like 99% of Argentinians have a European background.
99%, huh?
Yeah. Which is comparable. I don't know what it is in the United States, but we have a very small portion of Native Americans who have no other blood who are pure Native American.
Right.
There's some, but it's a small number of our population, and it's the same there. They do have a Native population, and they have a lot of people with Native blood, but most of them have had some European blood, either from the Spanish that first came over, other Europeans later on, and now there's a lot of Arab and Jewish population there. So they got a big group of people. A lot of German.
I was going to say,
too.
I remember reading about a lot of Germans going down there.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be different than
India, for sure.
But it's going to have its own challenges. So we'll see how we do. You can see on the screen, we've got a little bit of information on the history and stuff, just to give you a little intro before you jump into the profiles. And once you do that, let's go down and look at who we're going to be visiting once we're in Argentina. Starting with Carlos Saavedra Lamas. He was Latin America's first Nobel Peace Prize winner. He was a foreign minister and also worked as a leader in the League of Nations, which preceded the United Nations. And he brokered peace between Peru and Bolivia, and that's what he won the Nobel Peace Prize for.
Wow.
Second, we have Jose Maria Sobral. He was an explorer of the Antarctic. He's the first Argentinian to have spent a winter in the Antarctic. And later on, he became an ambassador to Norway. Now, the next one, and when I'm wondering if you recognize her, Violet Jessup. Does she ring a bell at all?
From the Titanic?
From the Titanic. And the reason I'm asking is because you are her profile manager.
I am.
You are.
From a long time ago.
From a long time ago. That's why I wondered if you still remembered.
That's so funny.
But I don't know if you want to tell the story, but she was more than just on the Titanic.
No, go for it.
Yeah, she survived 3 shipwrecks. The Titanic, the Britannic, and the Olympic shipwrecks.
I think after 2, I maybe wouldn't get on a ship again.
Yeah, that's probably. Although you probably figured if you did it twice, what's the odds of it happening?
I know. What are the chances, right?
But she found out.
Yeah, 3 for 3.
But she was a nurse. Apparently, I haven't read her whole story, but I believe she was a nurse with the shipping line. So she wasn't just going on a pleasure
randomly cruise. Yeah.
Next, we have Victoria Ocampo. She was a magazine publisher and a writer. She did a lot of writing for women's issues and serving kind of the underprivileged, getting them recognition. Antonio Berni, he is an artist. He was part of the, I forget what they call it, Nouveau Revolution or something like that.
Yep.
I'm not an art person, but realism. That's what Nouveau Realismo or something like that. Yeah. So I'm not doing a good job of explaining what he did, but you can go learn more about him by doing some research. The next one, Antonio Zorrilla. He was an Olympic swimmer. He was one of the first individuals to bring a gold medal home to Argentina. There were 3 individuals that year, so I don't know which one is considered first, if any. And I believe that 4 years prior, there was a team gold medal for, I think, the polo team. He was one of the first 3 to bring home a gold medal to Argentina. Libertad, and this is a French sounding or looking name.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't speak French, but Libertad Lamarque or Lamarque, I don't know how that's pronounced. She was a very famous Golden Age actress from Argentina. Juan Manuel Fangio, I believe. He was a Formula One driver. He has the second most wins. His wins were surpassed at the time. He had the most wins in Formula One racing. But again, it was surpassed by someone later on. He's currently in second place, but he was very, very famous worldwide. Raul Alfonso. He is considered the father of modern Argentine democracy. Argentina has been through a lot of turmoil in its government, and I found that out when I was trying to summarize its history up above. That was not an easy task, but
Yeah.
he was a real key figure in bringing democracy to Argentina.
Great.
So he has no connection so far. Isabel Sarli, she is a glamour model and an actress. She's, from what I read, she's kind of like the Marilyn Monroe of Argentina.
Looks like it with that picture.
Yeah, not so much known for her talent as much as maybe for her beauty.
Mm-hmm.
But that I can't say because I've never seen her perform, so I'm judging. um, and this one I'm going to pronounce Kino. He is a cartoonist. Let me see if I can click on his character. I recognized his character. Here she is.
Oh yeah.
So it's a very, very popular cartoon in Argentina. And he is the animator. Mercedes Sosa is a folk singer. Then we have Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner. So some of you may know her from the news. She was in the headlines for a while. She was the former president of Argentina. And after serving her term, she became vice president. So she's now the vice president of Argentina. And previously, she was married to another president of Argentina. So she was the first lady of Argentina. So she's had a number of roles there.
Yeah.
And then she and Alberto Fernandez, who are not related, but share a last name. He is the current president of Argentina. Those are our two living personalities this period.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if you're interested in working on those profiles, drop me a note and I can give you some access so that we can get them built out. And then the final one is Emiliano Sala. He was a football player, a very popular football player. And sadly, he was killed in a plane crash when he was, I believe, 29 years old.
Yeah.
That was back, I forget where exactly, but over in Europe. It was a very devastating event for the country. There's a lot of news on that.
Mm-hmm.
So that may give us some leads for him. But again, none of these people have family. None of them are connected to anybody. So we can get in there. And
that's a really cool, diverse group of people.
You know, I try to look for a variety, try not to get too many people in one category. So it's got some, whatever you're interested in, you know, maybe you'll find something that strikes a chord with you.
Yeah, I like it. I'm going to have to work on Violet now.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be fun. There's some, like I said, each one, you know, I try real hard not to do too much advanced research on these people. So I just get out, you know, the bare minimum. But even that was enough to spark my interest in several of them. I don't know which one I'm going to start with. But there's some really interesting stories here. And Violet's not the least of them.
Oh, there's many.
So we do have I will be posting tomorrow a G2G announcement of that we've moved on to Argentina. So we'll have a thread there that if you have any questions, comments, you can share them there, successes. And we've also started a Discord
channel
page. So if you're a fan of Discord, you can go over there, and I'll post the link on the Argentina. It's already on the India thread, but as I said, tomorrow I'll have an Argentina thread. I'm going to put two threads up. I'm going to put an Argentina thread, and I'm also going to put a wrap up for India as a separate new thread.
Oh, great!
We'll have two places you can go to, depending. And again, if you're still working on India, go ahead and post there because we'll still be checking in on the messages and that. So keep us up to date on what you're doing.
Keep going, because just because the 3 weeks isn't, it doesn't mean that if you're loving working on India, keep working on India.
Yeah. And even if you're kind of all done on the research. If you've kind of stretched yourself thin on that, you can always, like I said, just go back and start doing some cleanup. There's some really good profiles up, but some of them are a little bit disorganized or maybe need some headings put in. Or one thing I would ask is that when we're doing the profiles, we don't want to do too much cutting and pasting from Wikipedia. I did notice on a couple occasions there were large amounts of material that were just kind of brought right over from there. So we want to put our own, our own spin on it and make it ours, not theirs. But
yeah, that's a good reminder.
Yeah, but otherwise, they're the profiles were looking really good. But again, and we can use more. You find more sources if you can make them. Actually, I would love to get one of these people connected. And it's tough because we don't have a lot to connect them to. But I'm hoping again with Nora Jones, maybe she'll have some connections on her mother's side that we could.
I would think so. I would be surprised if she didn't.
Yeah. Except I think her mother's name is Sue Jones.
Oh, then yeah, perhaps.
It's a bit of trouble there, but maybe her grandmother has a unusual name that we can trace.
We can hope.
Politics, yeah.
Well, cool. That's exciting. Argentina, on to the next stop.
Okay.
Anything else before we go?
I think that's it.
Cool. Well,
and again, I encourage people to communicate because that's part of the fun is knowing what everybody else is doing. A lot of stuff got done in India that wasn't really shared. I kind of had to go back and find it, which is fine. But it's fun to hear as we're going along, kind of sharing your successes. So make sure you're posting
either in Discord or G2G. We love
either one.
To see that stuff, and you can interact with other people who are working on similar things, and that's always good too.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we will see you again in 3 weeks.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Argentina.